How to overcome greed and fear? Don't read the news.
Well, we don't need to overcome greed and fear. All we need to do is we need to be fearful when the world is greedy, and we need to be greedy when the world is fearful. So I'll just give you an example, which I was going to go into with I manage about 1.1 billion, and I have the most weird asset allocation I've had in 35 years as an investor. I've never had this weird allocation. 75% of the money is in 3 stocks in Turkey, and another 20% is in 3 coal stocks, 4-lettered word coal, in the US. And the other 5% doesn't matter. But I think about this quite often. And I think that what I really need to do is the next 10 years, 15 years, just do talks like this and do no work. And life will be great. So I started going to Turkey in 2018 because it was screening as an extremely cheap market. It was just, I had a friend in Turkey, the diehard Ben Graham investor, wonderful guy. And I said, Haider, I'd like to visit you in Istanbul, and I'd like to visit the companies in your portfolio. And is that okay with you? He said, oh, no, come, we'll have a great time. So I said, here's the rules. I only want to visit companies that you actually have money in. Don't take me to any companies you have no investment in that you think is good or whatever. And I said, I want to start with the one that you have the highest conviction, most money. And then we go down the list. And I went the first year in 2018. I visited about 20 businesses. Really was amazed at a few things that I came across. Then I went the next year in 2019, and Haider would send me the list of businesses that we were going to visit, but I never did any work on any of them because I said that I want to do the work after meeting the managements and all that, some base level. I have some base level knowledge, then I'll spend time drilling down. I was just too lazy to do the work up front. So we were driving to this company. I said, Haider, this company, I haven't looked at it. Can you tell me about it? He said, yeah, its market cap is 16 million, 1-6, and liquidation value is 800 million. So I said, fraud hai kya? Like 2% of, I said, what do they do? He said, they rent warehouses. So I said, why is it so cheap? He said, everything is cheap in Turkey. The first business I visited with him was a bank trading at a PE of 0.1. Bank was trading at a PE of 0.1. 0.1 means that 1 month's earnings is the entire value of the business. And but that's a separate story. I couldn't invest in something that have too much hair for me also. So anyway, this is the father-son team that I met. They look like very smart people, honest people to me. I went after that and visited the warehouses. And then I told my guys that buy every share, just take out the ask. So Turkey has a rule, the individual stocks cannot go up more than 10% in a day. Maximum any stock can go up is 10%. I told them, you tell the broker up to the 10% limit above the market price, buy every share available of this company that was the 16 million market cap. For $8 million, I got 1/3 of the company. The father-son who run it, they have 42%. The Indian guy with the great mustache is at 33%. And I meet them every year. I tell them, listen, I'm your cheerleader on the sidelines. I don't want to do any work. I don't want to be on the board. I just want to be your silent partner. And they are happy with it. I'm happy with it. Everyone's happy with it. That company has a value now in the stock market of $1 billion. The lira, which is why everyone was exiting Turkey at the time, when I made the investment, it was 5 lira for $1. Now it is 33 lira to $1. So the lira has collapsed. But the collapse of the lira meant nothing, which I knew even then, because I own warehouses. They are made of steel and iron and concrete and land, which is all inflation indexed. We have the cement guys right here, completely inflation indexed. So I said, there's no currency issues here, it's all okay. The liquidation value of the business, which used to be 800 million, is now somewhere between 2 or 3 billion. So I cannot sell, still cheap. And it took me a few years to figure out that I had not bought a cheap asset where something was really cheap. What I had actually bought was an asset with two gifted capital allocators who were going to compound this thing. Just last month, I was in Turkey, went to dinner with the son. The father doesn't come to too many dinners with us. So he asked me a question. He said, "What is my business going to look like in 20 years?" He's asking me, the Indian guy, okay, who's not even in Turkey all the time. So I told him, listen, man, it's really simple. The wealthiest families in Turkey are all second, third, fourth generation. They are professional managers running those businesses. The families are no longer running them. You are pounding day in and day out, and you are wheeling and dealing day in, day out. And you have these very clear metrics on how you invest. So I said, you're 39. I hope you're excited about this business when you're 70. And if you're excited about this business when you're 70, you will be the wealthiest family in Turkey. Because it's just math. You just keep compounding, it's just math. And my job is to just cheer you on and do nothing, So basically, the thing is that business is, I think, like 350 million or something out of the pie. It's a family business. It's the Pabrai family business. We are not the founders, but that's okay. We don't need to be the founders. And we don't do any work, and that's also okay. So it's all okay. And the other two businesses Turkey was just so cheap. It's just ridiculous. So the coal business in the US, just to tell you kind of how things work, is let's say there's a company that will produce $1 billion a year for 50 years, and then it goes out of business. So it's going to exist for 50 years. It's going to pump out 1 billion a year. What would you pay for that business? What would you pay? 50 billion aane wala hai 50 saal mein. The market was asking me to pay less than 2 billion. US listed company, New York Stock Exchange. No one's interested. The Indian guy with the mustache is interested. So we loaded up on these coal companies. And not only were we buying 2 billion for 1 billion, we're buying billion of cash flow for 2 billion. They're buying back shares, and there's no restrictions on buying back shares. So they'll, in a few years, they're no long-term holders of that stock. I think we are one of the only guys who own the stock. A lot of traders. And we'll just sit there. And India, the funny thing is those companies in the US, their major market is India. So we cannot produce iron and steel without metallurgical coal. India has massive needs for metallurgical coal, but it doesn't have much metallurgical coal in the country. So it has to import. And there are only like 6-7 places in the world where you have that quality of coal. And no one is investing. No one will invest in a coal mine. No one will finance a coal mine. So that's all fine. It's all locked. We just sit here. So we don't need NVIDIA, So my take is, and I don't need all these bets to work, If they all work, then, hallelujah, we don't know what we'll do then, But even half of them work, it's okay. 40% work, it's okay. No problem. And all of you actually have the skills because you're hardcore businessmen. You're hardcore dhando guys. You know how to allocate capital in your businesses. If you know how to allocate capital in your businesses, allocating capital outside your business is the same, right? It's exactly the same. So whenever someone says to you, okay, we should invest in this IPO, we should invest in this and that, this is the only question I have. What is the market cap? And when am I getting that money back? And if I'm not getting that money back in 3 or 4 years, I'm not interested. So the interesting thing about the stock market is that if you say that I only want to invest in companies that are PE of 1, they exist. PE of 2, they exist too. And PE of 100, they also exist. So the market will deliver whatever you want. You can set whatever threshold you want, and then you're done. I was talking to the CFO of a company that's like Tata in Turkey. They're like one of the biggest groups, very blue chip group. And he was telling me, he said, every country has a national sport. He said that in the US, it's poker. And he said poker is a game which is a mix of skill and luck. In China, it's baccarat, only luck. In Russia, it's chess, only skill. He said, do you know what the national game of Turkey is? I said, why don't you educate me? So he said, it's backgammon. And the Turks are mad about backgammon. They have all these places they go and play backgammon, total luck game. There's not much skill involved. And he said that the average Turkish investor wants to buy a stock at 10 o'clock and sell it at 3 o'clock and make 10% and then do the same thing the next day. And Buffett has a quote. He says the stock market is a mechanism to transfer wealth from the active to the inactive. So when I was looking at this 16 million market cap company, my concern was there'll be no liquidity. There'll be no shares available. Who will sell this company, right? Massive amounts of liquidity. I mean, I was shocked at the amount of trading volume. The average Turkish company, if you exclude the founder's stake and the foreign investors, cycles through the whole market cap in 11 days. Every 11 days, it's cycling. It is what I would call an orgasmic market to invest in. You know, for people like us who want to buy something and never sell it, there could be no better place than that.